At just 19 years old, Lamine Yamal is already living a dream that most football players never reach. Millions see the goals, the trophies, and the fame. But behind the headlines was a very different story. A story of financial struggles, family sacrifices, enormous pressure, and moments that nearly changed everything. Now, after years of silence about parts of his journey, the young superstar is opening up about what really happened and why his success means far more than football. Before the stadium lights, before the millions of fans, and before the world learned his name, Lamine Yamal was just a young boy growing up in Rocafonda, a working-class neighborhood in Mataró, near Barcelona. Life was not always easy. His family faced challenges that many people never saw. Money was often limited. His parents worked hard to give him opportunities. Long before he became one of football's biggest young stars, Lamine was learning important lessons about sacrifice, determination, and staying humble. His roots would later become one of the most important parts of his identity. Football quickly became more than a hobby. While other children spent their afternoons playing different games, Lamine seemed to have a special connection with the ball. Coaches noticed it almost immediately, even at a very young age. He played with confidence that looked unusual for a child. People who watched him began saying the same thing. This kid is different. But talent alone was not enough. Many gifted children dream of becoming professional footballers. Most never make it. The road is filled with obstacles, competition, and pressure. Nobody could guarantee that Lamine's story would end differently. Still, he kept playing. He played in local matches. He practiced for hours. He continued improving while carrying the hopes of those around him. Then something happened that changed everything. Scouts began paying attention. At an age when most children were still learning the basics, people connected to Barcelona's youth system were already hearing his name. Stories about his ability spread quickly through youth football circles. Some believed he could become one of the academy's brightest talents. Years later, when fans saw Lamine celebrating goals by showing the numbers 304 with his fingers, many wondered what it meant. The answer was simple. It was a tribute to Rocafonda, the neighborhood that helped shape him. No matter how famous he became, he never wanted to forget where he came from. And while the world was still unaware of the future superstar growing up in those streets, one of the biggest football clubs on earth was about to open its doors to him. That opportunity would change his life forever. What do you think was the biggest turning point in Lamine Yamal's journey? The talent he was born with, or the opportunities he earned through hard work? Let us know in the comments. The move to Barcelona's famous La Masia Academy changed everything. For years, Lamine Yamal developed quietly behind the scenes. While most football fans had never heard his name, coaches inside the club were already talking about him as a special talent. Every age group he entered seemed too easy. He was often playing against older opponents and still making them look helpless. Scouts, coaches, and teammates all saw the same thing. This was not normal. Barcelona had produced legends before. The academy had helped develop players like Lionel Messi, Xavi Hernandez, and Andrés Iniesta. Comparisons are usually dangerous for young players, but whispers about Lamine kept growing louder. Then came the breakthrough. In 2023, Barcelona manager Xavi made a decision that shocked many people. He gave the teenager a chance with the first team. Lamine was still incredibly young, but the coaching staff believed he was ready. When he stepped onto the field for his senior debut, he became the youngest player to represent Barcelona in decades. Suddenly, the football world was paying attention. Highlights of his dribbles spread across social media. Fans watched clips again and again, wondering how someone so young could play with such confidence. Defenders twice his age struggled to stop him. The pressure that normally crushes young stars seemed to have little effect. But there was a reason for that. Years later, Lamine explained that football never felt like pressure because it was what he had always known. Seeing his parents proud in the stands helped him stay calm even during the biggest moments. Then came an even bigger stage. Representing Spain, Lamine began breaking records that had stood for years. Every match seemed to bring another headline, another milestone, another reminder that football was witnessing the rise of a rare talent. By his late teens, many experts were already calling him one of the brightest young players in the world. The world saw a fearless teenager, smiling on the pitch. What they did not see were the expectations growing heavier every day. Because as Lamine's fame exploded, a new challenge was waiting for him, one that had nothing to do with football skills. And that challenge would test him in ways nobody expected. For most teenagers, life is about school, friends, and figuring out the future. For Lamine Yamal, life became something completely different. Almost overnight, he went from being a promising young player to one of the most talked about names in world football. Every match was analyzed. Every mistake became a headline. Every great performance brought even bigger expectations. The world was watching, and that can be dangerous for a young player. Many football stars have struggled under the weight of fame. Some lost confidence. Others saw their careers slow down before they truly began. Fans often forget that behind the jersey is still a young person trying to grow up. Lamine was facing that reality every day. One of the biggest challenges came from the comparisons. As his performances improved, people started comparing him to Lionel Messi. For most players, that would sound like a compliment. But for Lamine, it also created enormous pressure. He repeatedly explained that he wanted to create his own story, and that reaching Messi's level was almost impossible. The media attention became relentless. One day, newspapers and television shows described him as football's next great superstar. The next day, critics questioned whether he was being given too much responsibility at such a young age. Lamine later spoke about how quickly opinions can change and why he learned not to focus on outside noise. But there was another side to the story. Despite all the attention, he remained remarkably calm. In interviews, he often talked about his family. His mother, father, grandmother, and friends helped keep him grounded. He said seeing them happy gave him peace, even during the biggest moments of his career. Still, fame was changing his life. Simple things became difficult. Going out in public was no longer easy. Fans recognized him everywhere. Cameras followed him. The freedom he once enjoyed as a child slowly disappeared. Yet when he stepped onto the pitch, none of that seemed to matter. The teenager continued breaking records. The teenager continued winning matches. The teenager continued proving people wrong. From the outside, everything looked perfect. But behind the smiles and celebrations, a new storm was beginning to form. And what happened next would become one of the most talked about periods of his young career. If you enjoy documentaries that reveal the hidden side behind fame and success, subscribe because the next chapter uncovers the pressure few people truly understood. As Lamine Yamal's star continued to rise, the headlines became impossible to escape. Every week brought a new story. Some focused on his incredible performances. Others focused on the pressure of carrying expectations at such a young age. But behind many of those headlines was a reality that fans rarely understood. Lamine was still a teenager. That simple fact often got lost in the excitement surrounding his career. When millions of people watch your every move, even small moments can become major news. A difficult game, a missed chance, or a quiet interview can suddenly create endless discussions online. Social media made everything even bigger. Praise came quickly. Criticism came even faster. And sometimes both arrived on the same day. Lamine later explained that one of the most important lessons he learned was to avoid getting trapped by public opinion. If you believe every compliment, you can lose focus. If you believe every criticism, you can lose confidence. Finding balance became essential. FIFA.com. But there was another challenge. People constantly wanted answers about his future. Would he stay loyal to Barcelona? Could he become the face of a new generation? Would he eventually become one of the best players in the world? Those questions followed him everywhere. Yet Lamine often responded with surprising maturity. Instead of talking about fame, records, or personal glory, he usually spoke about improving, helping his team, and enjoying football. FCBarcelona.com. Still, the biggest misunderstanding was happening right in front of everyone. Many people assumed success made life easy. It didn't. The training sessions remained demanding. The expectations continued growing. The spotlight became brighter. And every achievement created even more pressure for the next one. Behind closed doors, he still had to work every day to earn his place. Talent opened the door, but discipline kept him inside. Then came one of the most important periods of his young life. For the first time, Lamine began speaking more openly about the sacrifices, challenges, and emotions that shaped his journey. Fans who only knew the superstar started seeing the human being behind the headlines. And what he revealed surprised many people, because the Real story was never just about football. It was about family. It was about sacrifice. And it was about remembering where he came from, even when the entire world was calling his name. Many people watching this have faced moments where others only saw the result, not the struggle behind it. Sometimes the hardest battles happen where nobody can see them. For years, fans saw the highlights. They saw the goals. They saw the records. They saw the smiling teenager becoming one of football's biggest stars. But there was something deeper that Lamine Yamal wanted people to understand. Success did not begin in a stadium. It began with sacrifice. As his fame grew, Lamine started speaking more openly about the people who helped shape his journey. Again and again, he returned to the same subject, his family. He often described how much his parents sacrificed to give him opportunities. Long before television cameras followed him, they were working hard to support their son and his dream. Their belief never disappeared, even when nobody knew his name. FIFA.com. One of the most emotional parts of his story involves his connection to Rocafonda. Many footballers move on from their childhood neighborhoods after becoming famous. Lamine chose a different path. Every time he celebrated by showing the numbers 304, he was sending a message to the world. Those numbers represented the postal code of Rocafonda. It was his way of honoring the community that raised him and reminding himself where everything started. FIFA.com. That small gesture carried a powerful meaning. No matter how famous he became, he refused to forget his roots. In interviews, he also revealed something else. Football was never only about personal success. Of course, he wanted to win. Of course, he wanted to improve. But seeing his family happy often meant more than any individual record. When he spoke about important moments in his career, he frequently mentioned the joy on the faces of the people closest to him. UEFA.com. That perspective helped him survive the pressure. While critics debated his future and fans argued about his potential, Lamine focused on the people who had always been there. The world saw a football phenomenon. His family still saw the same boy from Rocafonda. And perhaps that is what kept him grounded. Because history is full of talented young stars who lost themselves after finding fame. Lamine seemed determined not to become one of them. But the biggest question still remained. What kind of legacy would he leave behind? At just 19 years old, he had already achieved more than most players dream of in an entire career. Yet many believe his story is only beginning, and the final chapter may be the most important one of all. When people talk about Lamine Yamal today, they often focus on one thing: his age. At just 19 years old, he has already broken records, played on some of football's biggest stages, and earned the admiration of fans around the world. Most players spend years trying to reach that level. Lamine arrived there before many people even finished their teenage years. That alone is remarkable. But what makes his story truly special is not simply the success. It is how he has handled it. Throughout his journey, he has continued to show a maturity that surprises coaches, teammates, and supporters. Instead of acting like a superstar, he often speaks like someone who understands that nothing is guaranteed. He knows that football can change quickly. One season can make you a hero. The next can test everything you believe about yourself. That is why he continues to focus on improvement rather than headlines. The same determination that helped a young boy from Rocafonda reach Barcelona's first team is still driving him today. And the football world has noticed. Experts see a player with extraordinary technical ability, confidence under pressure, and a willingness to learn. More importantly, they see someone who still appears hungry to grow. UEFA.com. Yet perhaps the most impressive part of his journey is what he represents. For many young people, especially those from working-class communities, Lamine's story is proof that circumstances do not always decide your future. A dream can begin in a small neighborhood. A goal can survive difficult moments. And belief, when combined with hard work, can create opportunities nobody thought possible. That message reaches far beyond football. Some people watching this may be facing challenges of their own. They may feel overlooked. They may feel stuck. They may wonder whether their efforts will ever pay off. Lamine's journey offers a reminder that success often starts long before anyone notices. It starts during the quiet moments, the difficult days, the sacrifices nobody sees. And those moments can shape an entire future. The world knows Lamine Yamal as a football star, but perhaps his greatest achievement is showing millions of people that where you begin does not have to define where you finish. However, there is one final piece to this story, a legacy that is still being written, and it may become even bigger than anyone expects. Most football legends are remembered after their careers end. Lamine Yamal faces a different reality. People are already talking about his legacy, while his journey is only beginning. That says everything about the impact he has made. From the streets of Rocafonda to the biggest stadiums in the world, his rise has happened at a speed that few athletes in history have experienced. Yet what continues to impress many people is not only his talent, but the way he carries himself. He still speaks proudly about where he comes from. He still celebrates his roots. He still reminds young fans that success is built on sacrifice, patience, and hard work. That connection has made him more than just a football player. For many supporters, he has become a symbol of possibility, a symbol that dreams can survive difficult circumstances, a symbol that greatness can come from unexpected places, and perhaps most importantly, a symbol that staying true to yourself matters even after success arrives. Looking back, the story becomes clear. The world saw a young star breaking records, but behind those records was a family making sacrifices. Behind the trophies was a neighborhood that shaped his character. Behind the fame was a teenager learning how to handle pressure that would overwhelm many adults. And behind the headlines was a simple truth. Lamine Yamal never forgot where he came from. That may be the real answer to what really happened. The story was never about one match, one goal, or one moment. It was about a journey from a working-class neighborhood to global fame, a journey built on talent, discipline, family support, and resilience. And unlike many celebrity stories, this one has no final ending yet, because the most exciting chapters may still be ahead. Will he become one of the greatest players of his generation? Will he win the biggest trophies in football? Will he fulfill the enormous expectations placed upon him? Nobody knows. But one thing is certain, the boy from Rocafonda has already changed football's future, and millions of fans around the world will be watching to see what happens next. And this is only one story of fame hiding a deeper truth. In our next documentary, we'll uncover another incredible celebrity journey that shocked the world and revealed what really happened behind the spotlight. As Lamine Yamal entered his late teenage years, the expectations became even bigger. Every great performance created new headlines. Every goal created new comparisons. Every victory made people wonder just how far he could go. But expectations can be both a gift and a burden. Football history is filled with young stars who were called the next big thing. Some achieved greatness. Others struggled under the pressure. Lamine understood this better than most. He knew that talent alone would not be enough. The football world moves fast. Fans celebrate today and criticize tomorrow. One bad season can change public opinion overnight. That is why he continued focusing on the same habits that brought him success in the first place. Training, learning, improving. While the media discussed records and awards, Lamine remained focused on becoming a better player. And that mindset may be the reason many experts believe his best years are still ahead. But there was another challenge waiting for him. The challenge of turning early success into a long-lasting legacy, and that would require something even greater than talent. For many athletes, success is measured by trophies. For others, it is measured by influence. Lamine Yamal's story is already inspiring young people across the world. Children see someone who came from a normal neighborhood and reached the biggest stage in football. They see proof that dreams can become reality. His journey speaks to young players who train every day, hoping for a chance. It speaks to families making sacrifices for their children. And it speaks to anyone who has ever felt underestimated. The message is simple. Your starting point does not decide your future. Lamine's rise shows that determination can open doors that once seemed impossible to reach. That impact goes far beyond football. Long after the goals are forgotten, stories like these continue to inspire future generations. And that may become one of the most important parts of his legacy. Yet the biggest test of all was still ahead. Because every superstar eventually reaches a crossroads that defines who they truly are. Today, Lamine Yamal stands at the beginning of a new era. Not the end, the beginning. At an age when most young people are still discovering themselves, he has already experienced fame, pressure, criticism, and success. But his story remains unfinished. The records will continue to change. New challenges will arrive. New opportunities will appear. And with every season, the world will learn more about the person behind the footballer. What happens next may determine whether he becomes a great player or a true legend. The answer will not be written in a single game. It will be written through years of dedication, discipline, and growth. For now, one thing is certain. The boy from Rocafonda has already achieved what many thought was impossible. And if his journey so far has taught us anything, it is that we should never underestimate what he might do next. Because sometimes the most incredible chapter of a story is the one that has not been written yet.